It's interesting because when we spoke in the past and when you do your course, you're very adamant with people that 10 days is a very important milestone when you're going, say, cold turkey, if we call it that, or if in your, maybe it, through your work, maybe it's not really cold turkey, it's more you're taking control of the situation and you're bringing, you're just cutting out the problem. But yeah, I remember this 10-day period you believe is this just what your belief is, or is it something that's a scientific thing out there that after 10 days roughly you can clear out of sort of certain things? So say you're addicted to weed, for example, just going by an example here. After 10 days of not doing it, are you kind of rid of
No,
it or
definitely not.
all right.
No.
So
Yeah.
what's the 10-day thing?
Yeah. So anyone exercising willpower and discipline to stop something will never stop the system. So you could live for the next 20 years and not drink alcohol, but for the next 20 years, the system will still be active for alcohol. So there'll always be a void inside of you. In the AA models and that, they call it an ism, that, you know, they describe it as an ism, but what an ism is a void, it's a hunger, it's something missing. But, you know, the ism comes from the psychological addiction that conscious self person created when they took the drug and then took the drug again and again, and they created association memories and experiences. So
what happens at 10-day?
So
you've stopped something at the 10-day mark. What?
No, yeah, so you can't enter into this 10-day withdrawal stage unless you've had the education and the understanding of systems and mechanisms. Because once you know, basically what the program shows you is at some point you need to make a declaration. So this is a point where you say, from this moment on, for the rest of my life, I will never do this again. And then we get people to sign and date and, you know, almost like a legal document, but it's a legal document to themselves. At that point, what we create inside of ourselves is a bit like crossing the road. Yeah. We create conflict because, you know, mind and physical body have had control of that person all their life, and at no point have they ever disconnected and gone against the mind. Even if they've tried to exercise massive willpower and discipline, the mind stayed in control of that person. Yeah. Because really the greatest secret that the mind ever had over someone, it was the ability to mimic them through emotion, feeling, thought, and pretend it didn't exist. So if those two are in place, then this person has no chance. Now, I'm not saying that people haven't escaped through massive willpower and discipline. Of course they have, but what they haven't done was the 90% of the problem that's going on inside. So this is where addiction sits. You know, it's not drug addiction, it's a mental health issue. And so the more we understand that, then to be able to enter into this 10-day, we call it a 10-day withdrawal stage, you can't do that in willpower. So it takes education, right, which leads up to a declaration, which then creates the conflict with the mind. So the mind comes out into the open. So now you have an audience with the mind. Then you use the self-talk technique, which is the self-realization and the reprogramming of the mind, to talk yourself through the next 10 days. Because we know by the time you get to day 11 onwards, the mind has then gone dormant of the addiction, because for 10 days, the mind would then bully you. It would create, you know, a lower emotional state, maybe a mild cold flu stroke, you know, cold stroke flu type feeling, and it would annoy you, and it would heighten all situations. It would try and make you argue and be unhappy. In its powerful form, it's trying to use everything it's got against you to get you to go back into compliance and do what it believes you should be doing, like smoking, drinking, or taking drugs, or watching pornography, or whatever it might be. So the system believes it knows better, and you know, and I suppose it should do, because ultimately we were born into this world and it's got us to where we are now. So it's doing a very good job. But again, it's trying to work in a modern day society with, you know, dopamine being released for almost everything that we do. And so it only knows to repeat that behavior. So when you're saying, I'm not going to repeat, it's like the mind goes into panic and fear. It says, like, if you don't, we're going to die. That's what it believes. And so then it can create the emotional state of dying, like, you know, that fear, that, oh my God, this is terrible. So, you know, so for that reason, and so unless this person here who's making that declaration understands what's coming, then this person here will go into the fear, the panic and the anxiety, and then they'll pick up. And so our job is to educate conscious self first, me, you know, the conscious self, as much as we possibly can before we make the declaration, because once we make the declaration, we know the mind's coming. But then we have a set of rules that people follow, and they follow these rules as we go through this 10-day process, as the mind's trying to bully and create lower emotional states, anxiety, stress, and fear. But by the end of the 10 days, the mind then realizes that it didn't die and what you were saying was correct. And then it goes dormant of the habit, the behavior, and addiction.
After 10 days?
After 10 days. And then it will stay dormant for the rest of your life. It cannot bring itself back to life. You know, what we have after withdrawal is residual memories, you know, association experiences. You know, they take time to because you've got to go out and create new memories, associations, experiences. But it's this 10 days where you create conflict, which then gives you the audience with the mind, which then allows you to reprogram it. Because at the end of the 10 days, the mind goes dormant, the danger goes away, you go back into natural state of being, which is, you know, naturally higher, which is peace, calm, and happiness. And then your job then for the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, maybe even a couple of years, is come to terms with what's gone on, understand how you got here, and then try and repair whatever's going on and move forward with your life. So, you know, and that's where the real work starts, you know?
That's quite mind-blowing, really. So, Chris, what you're saying is, say someone is addicted to, I don't know, smoking. Let's go with smoking for the last, I don't know, 20 years. You're saying that if they stop today, after 10 days, you're saying that addiction is going to be dormant.
Yeah. So only if they've done the program.
Right.
If they don't do the program, then they're exercising willpower and discipline, and in 10 days' time, that want and need for that cigarette will be 100 times worse than it was at the beginning.
The program that you've designed
and created,
you believe
it's not a belief. This is science.
This is science.
Science.
Great.
This program will work for every single person, every single time, as long as they are compos mentis and they can understand what I'm saying, and it's what they want. I can't make someone want to stop. I've had lots of people say, can you just make me want to stop? And I say, no, like you have to choose. You have to choose that you want to stop this habit, behavior, and addiction. And, you know, by choosing, you're going to need a reason. Because when you go up in front of your mind, if I just a smoker and I just put it out, I'm never smoking again, my mind kicks in. If I haven't got a reason, you know, I've got yellow fingers. That's why I'm sorry. It's not enough. You know, the mind says, we're going to die here. And because of your yellow fingers, you think you're going to stop. You know, so the mind is a very powerful force, and it knows us inside out. You know, it's been with us from day dot. So, you know, it knows what emotional buttons to push for us to act and behave in certain ways. So when you use this program, as I said, there's a point of disconnection. You know, like I said, the same as, you know, the caveman woman back in evolutionary terms. You know, someone disconnected. You know, and unless you disconnect, then you are part of the system. You know, you are the system because you're in compliance with the system. So, you know, the only route out of this is we have to disconnect. You know, and it's hard for people to comprehend. What, Chris, you're saying that there's something inside of me that isn't me. You know, you're saying that I'm not my mind, I'm not my body, I'm not my thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Well, then, who am I and what am I and what am I doing here? I mean, you know, these are the bigger questions. Like, I can't explain the bigger questions, but I can show you the separation model. Yeah. I can prove the evidence that you are independent of mind and body. I can show you the reprogramming time. I can give you the timelines, and we guarantee the outcome. So
people have when you teach people about all this, and when you're helping them with everything, you're saying some of them have a hard time believing or understanding the subconscious.
I mean, no. So, you know, we never use this word belief. You know, faith, belief. You know, trust. I don't need anyone to do any of that.
Or they simply don't understand the concept as much sometimes of the subconscious or of the certain systems inside of us which act without us always being the one who's actually...
Yeah, I mean, the whole educational process from the Get Your Life Back book, the 7-Day Addiction, you know, we do one-to-one mentoring. You know, a one-to-one mentoring course with a client is a couple of months. Like, we have to spend a few weeks training them. Yeah. Like, we have to train them before we'd even let them near the subconscious mind. Because if you go up in front of the subconscious mind and you don't know what you're doing, you're going to lose. You're going to lose straight away. So we have to educate people enough to the understanding of what's going on, for them to be able to have the confidence to write that declaration, and then know by writing that declaration that there's like a war coming. You know, but we are not going to war with the mind. You know, our job really is almost to become like the adult, and the mind is the child. Like, we know the mind's a child because it lacks the common sense. So highly intelligent, highly sophisticated, but no common sense. So our job is to become the adult because we've got an abundance of common sense. You know, this is how, you know, if a computer goes wrong, you know, it's got a virus, the computer can't fix itself. And even though I've not got the intelligence of a computer, I know that common sense says, I'll tell you what, I'm going to delete that. Maybe I'll just take it back to factory settings. I'll reboot it, start again. Do you know what? It's working fine now. But the computer itself can't do that.
Computers don't have willpower.
Well, it's not willpower. They've got no common sense. There's no common sense. They're working from systems and mechanism, preset mechanism. They can't move away from that, how they were programmed. But we can, because consciously we are not a program. We are not part of the mind or the body or the universe. We are independent of the whole lot. We are only here as an experiencer, an observer. You know, I'm here to experience life. So I know that I'm independent of systems and mechanisms, but all I needed to understand was how they work. So then I could reverse the damage that's gone on. Because don't forget, like, we're brainwashed since, you know, we're conditioned from birth to act and behave and dress in a certain way and speak in a certain way and live in a certain way. And, you know, we were conditioned, but actually I'm not the conditioning. I'm independent of that. Yeah. And now I'm free-willed. I live in a free will universe where most people are still plugged in, and I can't really go and unplug them because they're not asking. You know, and if I, you know, stop people in the street and say, look, you're all being controlled by your mind and physical body. You know, none of your decisions really are yours. Your thoughts, feelings and emotions are your driver. And you know, everything that's ever gone wrong in your life is probably because of the system. You know, they just say you're crazy. So,
can I just clarify as well, when you're talking system, you're talking the system in here?
Yeah, so mind.
Yeah.
Mind, physical body. Yeah.
Just for people to be clear on this. Because some people, I think, because with some of the things we spoke about, I think some people might be like, oh, we're also talking about the system, as in the system that's out there. You know, I mean, look, society system.
No, not society system, no. But society system is all planning to get into your mind.
Yeah.
Because they bypass us, the conscious self. Once they get into your subconscious mind, then they've got you, because they know subconscious mind controls the conscious self. You know, so, you know, you watch an advert and, it, you know, a skimpy lady or, you know, a fast car, and then at the end of it, there's a chocolate bar, you know, which has got nothing to do with the advert. Because you're mesmerized, you know, your gateway to your subconscious mind is open. So, and because we believe in television and radio and news channels, everything's going in and we're not stopping it. So, but once it gets in, you know, the mind, you know, it's hacked into the system, the subconscious mind. Then subconscious mind is saying, well, let's have that. Let's do that. And so, you know, so we have to learn to disconnect. And I know it's hard, you know, to think about, you know, this isn't me, you know, the body is just a vessel, my mind's just a guide, but this is it. This, I can't, you know, and science, as I said, through this program, we prove it, you know, and so what we need to be doing, and especially in society today, like, you know, the world is in trouble, you know, and no one seems to be taking control of it. So if we can't rely on our governments, you know, industry, you know, to make good, then we have to make good ourselves. And by disconnecting from the system, understanding what's going on inside of you gets control of your emotional state. Because once you have control of this, then guess what? You start to control that. And then when you understand law of attraction and, you know, you're at peace, calm and happiness, then your vibration is attracting you to more peace, calm and happiness. But when you have addictions, cravings, you know, we're not vibrating in peace, calm and happiness, you know, and we're attracting into our life more pain, suffering, addiction, you know, and then we're wondering why my life's gone so bad. Well, actually, like, we need to repair our inner self first, because once you repair your inner self, then you get better outcomes out here.
Chris, tell me very quickly about your 7-day beat addiction plan and your sort of workshops. Just briefly tell us a bit about them, because obviously people can someone go and download this online? So, is it free? Does it cost?
No. So, like, you know, the reason I got into helping people and writing books and, you know, traveling, you know, the world really, speaking on this platform, is, you know, I felt so much pain and suffering when I lost my brother. I'd never put pen to paper. You know, I understood how I got out, but, you know, it was to get my life back, not, you know, go and save the world. But when I lost my brother, it you know, it just threw me onto a completely different path. Whatever I'd been doing up to that point was a complete waste of time, and you know, and I almost lost my business that I'd created and everything else. But it was that self realization that I need to help, and you know, for the first time in my life, I put pen to paper, you know, and it took me about a year, but I wrote my story, I wrote my brother's story, and I wrote how I overcome, you know, my addictions and mental health issues, and born of that Get Your Life Back book, which, you know, become a bestseller on Amazon, I wrote this. So, you know, I extracted from the book and wrote the 7-day plan, which, you know, ultimately gives people the information. So after reading this for around 7 days, you get enough confidence to make that declaration to then be able to go in front of your subconscious mind and create the conflict and the rewiring, and then, you know, make dormant that addiction, habit and behavior. And so, you know, this is completely free to download. It's, you know, I set the web, you know, the charity up under my brother's name, robhillfoundation.org. And as I said, yeah, tens of thousands of people have read this, and, you know, we run online support groups and physical groups, but, you know, but there's also a commercial side, because, you know, we also run clinics and retreats, and we do one-to-one. So, you know, but everybody, doesn't matter who you are, gets the solution to the problem, you know, and that was the purpose of you know, and still today, 10 years on, after losing my brother, this is what I do and will continue to do.
Chris, what's some of the physical, social and emotional impact that addiction has on people?
You know, I can tell you now that we are at epidemic levels. You know, it's all underneath the radar. It's not being reported on the news or government. You know, I believe the war on drugs in this country and around the world is over now. You know, you can get most drugs, you know, under the mental health barrier that you can now get, you know, plant-based THC cannabis from your chemist. You know, they're testing ketamine with people with mental health disorders, you know, LSD, MDMA, you know, so, you know, the society has spun around, and so, you know, it's so much more acceptable now to drink and snort cocaine down the pub. You know, people don't think twice about it now. Right. So, you know, but more so, you know, the introduction of vaping, which, you know, is, you know, a gateway drug which creates complete dependency, hunger and void. So now we've got 60 to 70% of all the youngsters now leaving school addicted to nicotine. Then that one step towards cannabis is a very short step. Whereas if someone doesn't smoke or use any kind of nicotine, that step to use cannabis is so big that the likelihood that they're never going to do it. But if they're already a smoker or a vapor, that void or hunger could, you know, well, I'll try that because it might make me feel better than this dependency I've got on nicotine. And, you know, from cannabis, and then we've got this ketamine issue, which, you know, ketamine is like a tenth of the price of cocaine. So, you know, it's you know, aimed at all of the youngsters because, you know, of course they've not got enough money, you know, but it's so addictive and it damages the bowels and the bladder. And, you know, I see more youngsters now than I ever did, you know, 5 years ago, because it used to be like 35 to 55. This is when people realize that life is not working out for them. But now we've got like
younger, some of these.
Well, and we've got 20, 25-year-old with, you know, suspected needing bowel transplants. Wow. This is the ketamine problem. So, wow. But it's so addictive that it, you know, it cuts off the common sense in someone's mind because it's a tranquilizer. So it anesthetizes the brain and the person, and so there's no common sense, and all they know is to just keep using, because when they use, it takes away all emotion, feeling, thought, and so then they live in this kind of bliss. But the bliss doesn't last long because the drug comes out of the body, and as soon as it comes out of the body, then they want to put it back in again. And, you know, on average, they're sniffing, you know, using about an eighth of, you know, a powdery, you know, substance a night, you know, and it, you know, it's, so, you know, we've got serious, that and the cannabis with the psychosis, the addiction to the nicotine, alcohol, you know, alcohol's become, you know, secondary to all of these other things. Yeah. But we've still got an alcohol problem, you know, from 35 to 85. You know, so the older generation is the alcohol, cocaine. The younger generation is the cannabis, the nicotine, the ketamine. And then we've got a pharmaceutical issue as well, because, you know, you can get pharmaceutical drugs on the internet really easily now. And so people are, you know, self-diagnosing themselves. They're taking their own medications. And, you know, and I suppose 1 in 4 adults in this country through the NHS are now either addicted to antidepressants, antipsychotics, or opiate painkillers. So you know, we are living in a very depressed state, almost like a narcissistic state, because, you know, everyone's so worried about fulfilling their hungers and their needs that people have stopped really caring about everybody else. And so we've got like almost like a narcissistic society, you know, a completely addicted society, and no one really understands, and no one's fixing the problem. And, you know, and I suppose, you know, it's a massive problem. Hence, that's why we keep doing what we're doing. And, you know, we're now starting to train people to do what I do and deliver this model. And, you know, but even though I've got the solution to the problem, like, you could go into London and ask 1,000 people, do you know who Chris Hill is, or Beat My Addictions, or Rob Hill? They've never heard of us. So, you know, it's so deep. It's, you know, and how we, you know, and as I say, the only route out of this is through education. You know, we need to educate as young as possible. We need to educate, you know, now where the people are in trouble, you know, help them understand, you know, the mechanics of the mind and body. Because like I said to you, 90% of the problem is coming from within. If you sort the 90% of the problem out, the 10% ceases to be, and then people gain back the power, and then they can make better decisions, build their relationships back, the kids. And, you know, think of how many lives have been ruined through alcoholism, you know, drink drivers, you know, marriage breakup, kids break up, you know, the accidents, you know, and we're just talking alcohol, you know, and alcohol is always going to be the number one, nicotine or cigarette smoking number 2, but we're missing this generational gap of where people are suffering really badly, and we need to do something. And, you know, and by doing this, we're getting the message out, and hopefully this helps someone with a light bulb moment like what I had, and the realization that I can change. And I just need a little bit of help. I need a little bit of reading or hand holding, and then I can do it myself, you know, because ultimately I don't want to be there holding people's hands for the rest of life. My job is to give you as much information, get you out as quickly as possible so you can get on with your life. And that's what we're doing. And we do it, as I said, by the disconnection of the system. Yeah. We disconnect consciously from the mind and physical body. We use a self-talk technique, which forms a reprogramming of the mind to make the mind dormant of the habit, behavior, addiction, and then we can start again. And, you know.
And Chris, obviously some of the obvious ways to be addicted is things like smoking, drugs, alcohol. What other things can your work cover? Like, what other addictions have you seen? I believe one of the things may be food. Do people ever come to you with food addictions? Or is there any other kinds of addictions you've seen? One of the other things was sugar.
Sugar addiction is a problem. You know, sugar mixed with fats and salts, you know, mixed together creates a chemical reaction in the brain which releases massive dopamine. So in the food chain, something 70% of all foods that you consume now, whether you read the packets or not, you know, you wouldn't even know that there was sugar in the products, but they have to put the sugar in to create the dopamine fix, which creates the prehistoric mechanism to repeat that behavior. So 70% of supermarket aisles are sugar. It's the sugar in the products, because, you know, supermarkets need fast moving products. You can't just have food on the shelves and it's going off, you know, no one's going to make any profit. So, but the only way that you can attract people to products, especially food, is to sugarcoat it. You know, even a chicken that they've cooked in the, you know, Tesco's or that has a sugar coating. You know, it's you know, but it's made that way to make it moreish, to create the hunger, the dependency for want of more. Like, you don't open up a packet of biscuits and eat one. You open up a packet of biscuits and eat the whole thing. Because you can't stop, because once you start that fulfillment, that hunger, that dopamine, the mind's going, want more. Yeah. And even when you're getting to the end of the packet of biscuits, the mind's saying, when can we get another packet? And it's the same with drugs and you know, sex or pornography, and you know, so it's such a wide thing. But, you know, ultimately, you know, let's not get het up in the complexities of addiction. Let's understand systems and mechanisms, because you don't need to deal with this. You don't need to deal with the societal problems. You just need to deal with the mental health. Deal with the mental health. You're going to get yourself out, and then you can come to terms with what food you're going to consume, or work you're going to do, or the person that you're going to be with. Like deal with the inner self first. Go in here first, and then you'll get better results out here. And that's how it works.
Chris, do you believe as well sometimes your diet, the things you do eat, can also impact your behavior?
Yeah, I mean, look, sugar is a poison. You know, when you put refined sugar into your body, it goes in as a poison. The body doesn't know how to digest it. You know, your pancreas, you know, pumps in insulin, you know, because it's you know, there's alarm bells going off. All insulin can do with sugar is turn it into fat cells. Then we got the clogging up of the heart and stuff like that. You know, but sugar and massive dopamine, you know, it wires someone, so then their behaviour becomes erratic and stuff like that. I remember when we was kids, you know, someone said to my mum one day, you got to stop giving them the orange squash because it's full of sugar, and we were a bit like wired when we were young. So you know, but this is just common sense is kicking in. But as I said, you know, we're awash with sugar and sugary products now, so it's very hard to you know, make better decisions, especially if you've got the dependency. So it's better to understand your mind, disconnect from it, and then you can go out there and make better choices. But you know, it's again, like, all of these issues are so vast. Like we could do a whole, you know, conversation just on food, or just on sugar. We could do it on caffeine. You know, it's the same thing. You know, we're paying like £4 or £5 for a cup of coffee now and not thinking twice about it. But the reason you're buying the cup of coffee is because you've got dependency, want and need. And if you don't have that cup of coffee, you're not going to be able to focus and do your job today. But you're reliant on that drug now. Whereas when you were born into this world, you didn't need coffee. You didn't need caffeine. You were complete. You was already focused. And, you know, and
it's really funny because when I first met you, and I filmed some of your retreats and conference things you were doing, I remember specifically, I was talking to one of my friends about even just simple things like coffee and tea, right? Even just, you know, your instant coffee, not even, you know, the stronger types of coffee, or the better kinds of coffee. But and I said to him, I'm telling you this now, try and not have tea for one day. Can you do it? He said to me, come on, man, what are you, ridiculous? And he went to do it one morning and he couldn't do it. And he texted me going, man, you're right. Like, I couldn't even for that morning. I usually have my cup of tea in the morning when I wake up, or in the evening, I'll have my cup of tea, and it's comforting, and I you know, I need it. And I was like, just try just one day. And he just couldn't do it. And he was like, look, it's a joke. If I really wanted to do it, I would do it. But actually,
that's the excuse.
But actually, yeah, well, it was real. And I, at the time, also felt I was like that. I went to stop drinking because I was drinking a lot of tea at the time as well. The normal kind of tea you put, you know, English breakfast or whatever you want to call it, with 1 or 2 sugars. And I remember after your stuff, actually, I cut back down on the amount of sugars, and I even went all the way down with my coffee and my tea to half a sugar. And I remember I couldn't even go a day without a tea or a coffee, and I was thinking, blimey, like, that is nuts. But actually, even to those levels, you don't realize, even to simple things like that, how you've systemized yourself into needing these things, or these are the comfort. Why does a tea or a coffee necessarily have to be a comfort thing for you? It's it's just your perception, or
it's not, yeah. So, you know, it's not your perception. It's it's the perception of the mind and the body that acquired the drug. Because contained in tea is caffeine. Caffeine is an addictive drug. So when you put it in, it creates the, you know, the dopamine, the want and the need and the dependency. And now your mind and body are governing, like, we want a cup of tea. Go get me a cup of tea. There's not a voice, but there's an emotional button that is pushing, because you know that's the indication to put the kettle on and have a cup of tea. Because if you don't have a cup of tea, you're going to start to feel anxious and void and hungry, you know, and you don't want to feel like that. So, you know, we're not very good at, you know, emotional turmoil. We want to be fulfilled. We want to feel good. And, you know, what is feeling good is what you call, you know, peace, calm and happiness. But for society, the only way to get to peace, calm and happiness, they have to use a substance, a drink, an act, a behavior, you know, which unfortunately then causes, you know, the consequence. There's a consequence to too much caffeine, too much sugar, too much alcohol, too much nicotine, too much recreational drugs. And, you know, and this is really what we need to think about. And this is what I try and explain to people. It's not that you can't do something, it's understanding what the consequences are. And, you know, is it worth it? Because if it outweighs the actual pleasure of it, then let's just get rid of it. But to get rid of it, again, we need to go into the mind and we need to do some reprogramming.
Chris, how important is having support from, say, friends or family in sort of beating an addiction, or if you want, you know, getting rid of an addiction or whatever, moving on from it, well, however you want to see it?
Yeah, I mean, look, we don't usually need a support base. It's always good if someone has got, you know, people that love and care for that person. Of course, that's always going to be a plus, but a lot of people don't have that, you know, and sometimes, yeah, it's harder for that person to come to terms with, because if they haven't got anyone in their lives, that crutch, that companion is the drink, is the drug, you know, that's what, you know, that's their reward, you know. But actually, you know, if you've got a more, you know, family around you, then there's other things that create more dopamine and stuff like that. So it is hard, but you know, ultimately I only need someone in front of me, an individual that says, Chris, I want out, I want change. Once we've got that, then we can get them out. But if I haven't got that, then, you know, no one's getting out of this thing. So yeah, family outlook, you know, is good, you know, but it you know, it's not going to make any difference to this program. It's that conscious self person that we have to educate for them to go into their mind and for them to reprogram the mind, because I can't reprogram the mind for them. You know, my language, my voice is alien, but their voice, their language is the perfect fit, and it's their language is what will reprogram their mind.
Brilliant. So really having a support system is kind of nice, but really it's you who's got to walk through the door, as Morpheus says in the Matrix. I mean, this isn't
show you the door, but you've got to walk through it.
Yeah, it's true, right? That's how it is. Brilliant. Right, Chris, I think we're there. Thank you so much for coming along today. Just to remind people once again that Chris does have a free, do you get sent this or you download it?
Yeah, so you go onto the website, robhillfoundation.org. I'm sure you're going to put it up in the link. And you can download this free 7-day plan. We've also got an online support group that you can join. It's a physical thing. And yeah, but if you want something a bit more private, then it's beatmyaddictions.com and you can come and find us there.
So guys, that's it for from us today. I hope you really enjoyed that episode. And as Chris said, if you want to learn more, then go onto his websites and you can download some of these resources and learn more about addictions. And you can contact Chris if you need to help you out with anything. And yeah, that was really, really good. It's been a while since I've seen you as well, Chris. Really enjoyed having you.
We can do it again another time.
Yeah, we can do more for sure. And then, yeah, I'm Pam Michael, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you very much.